They say family means no one gets left behind. That's what I believed for 71 years. That's the lie that nearly killed me. Because after 6 months of lying helpless in that bed, 6 months of begging for water they'd bring hours later, pleading for food they'd forget, lying in my own waste because bathing me was too much work, they stood at my bedroom door one Tuesday morning, looked at me like I was already dead, and made a choice. My name is Bob Mitchell. I'm 71 years old, and I'm speaking to you from a place I never thought I'd end up alone. Learning to trust again, if that's even possible. If you're watching this, stay until the very end. Comment your location below, because what happened to me in 1994 is still happening to someone right now, in your city, maybe on your street. Hit that subscribe button, because this isn't just about what they did to me. It's about what people are capable of when caring becomes inconvenient. This was late November, 1994. The holidays were coming. My wife Linda, 48 years of marriage. My son Brandon, 35 years old. The boy I'd worked 2 jobs to put through college. For 6 months, I'd been completely dependent on them. And for 6 months, I watched them slowly stop pretending they cared. The missed meals, the delayed water, the way they'd stand in my doorway, staring at me like I was a burden they were counting down the days to be rid of. Then one morning, they stopped pretending altogether. This is the story of what they chose, and what I had to survive because of it. Before we go any further, I need you to understand something. This isn't about monsters. This is about ordinary people who decided that inconvenience was worse than cruelty. People who convinced themselves that what they wanted mattered more than whether I lived or died. So stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll know exactly what a human life is worth to some people. Now let me tell you what happened when they finally left. You're absolutely right. Let me restart with the proper structure, focusing on the 6 months of neglect first. It had been 6 months since the stroke took my body but left my mind cruelly intact. 6 months of lying in this bed, staring at the ceiling I'd painted myself 20 years ago, back when my hands still worked. Back when I was a man, not a burden. They said they'd take care of me. Linda promised, standing by my hospital bed with tears in her eyes. "We'll bring you home, Bobby. We'll manage." Brandon nodded, squeezed my shoulder. "Don't worry, Dad. We've got you." The first month, they tried. Sort of. Linda would bring meals sometimes on time, usually late. She'd help me to the bathroom, her face twisted with disgust she tried to hide. Brandon would sit with me for 15 minutes, scrolling through his phone, talking about his real estate deals like I could respond. By month 2, the mask started slipping. "I'll bring lunch in an hour," Linda would say at noon. Lunch came at 4, sometimes 5. My stomach would cramp with hunger, but I couldn't call out loud enough for her to hear downstairs. I'd lay there, listening to the TV, smelling food I couldn't reach. The water was worse. I was busy, Bob. You could have waited, but I couldn't tell her I'd been waiting. Couldn't tell her anything. By month 3, I understood. They wanted me gone. Not dead. Maybe they weren't murderers, I told myself. But gone. Off their hands. Someone else's problem. I just didn't know how far they were willing to go to make that happen. Month 4 was when bathing became a punishment. Linda would stand in the doorway, staring at me like I was a pile of laundry she couldn't face. I'd been lying in the same sheets for a week. The smell was unbearable even to me. She'd do it eventually, but with such rough, angry movements that I'd bite my tongue to keep from crying out. Not that anyone would hear me anyway, but I know she'd is 725 were my 10 for movements. Asa better eventually. Asa better eventually. And pleased to be anyone with companies. Brandon stopped coming to my room altogether. I'd hear him downstairs, laughing on phone calls, making plans with friends. Once I heard him tell someone, "Yeah, my dad's here, but he's basically, not really here anymore." I was right there, right above him, still here, still human. The nights were longest. Sometimes I'd need the bathroom and couldn't hold it. I'd lie there in my own waste until morning, shame burning hotter than any fever. Linda would find me and sigh that long, exhausted sigh that said, "Look what you've done to me." I hadn't done anything. My body had betrayed me, and now they were betraying me back. Month 5. I started noticing the whispered conversations that stopped when I made noise. The glances between Linda and Brandon. The way they'd stand in my doorway, just watching me, like they were waiting for something. I realized what they were waiting for. They were waiting for me to die. Just die already, and solve their problem. But I didn't die. I kept breathing, kept existing. That's when I heard them talking about Paris. The morning they left, Linda came to my room earlier than usual. I heard her footsteps quick, nervous, guilty. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, just looking at me. I tried to meet her eyes, tried to make her see me, really see me. "Bob," she said quietly, We're going on that trip. You remember? Paris." Her voice cracked slightly. "Brandon says you'll be fine. We left your phone right here." She placed it on the nightstand, just far enough that my useless arm couldn't reach it. Did she know? "There's water here. 3 bottles. And granola bars. The neighbors might check on you." But we both knew they wouldn't. We'd lived here 15 years and barely knew their names. I'd been too busy working, providing, building this life they were now walking away from. She bent down, kissed my forehead cold, quick, like kissing a corpse. 4 days. 4 days alone, unable to move, unable to call for help, unable to do anything but lie here and wait. I tried to scream. The sound that came out was barely a moan. Linda flinched, stepped back toward the door. "Brandon says the doctors said you might recover more movement any day now. So if you need something, you can." She was lying to herself. I could see it in her eyes. She knew. She knew I couldn't reach that phone. Knew I couldn't feed myself. Knew I'd lie here, in whatever happened to my body. Helpless and alone. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and then she was gone. I heard the front door close at 11:47. I know because I was staring at the clock, watching my life tick away. Heard their car start. Heard it pull out of the driveway. Heard the sound fade into nothing. Then there was only silence. And me. Day 1. I told myself someone would come. The mailman. A neighbor. Anyone. I tried to make noise whenever I heard sounds outside. A dog barking. Kids playing. Cars passing. Nothing came out loud enough. My voice was just another sound in the suburb, lost among lawnmowers and television sets. By day 2, the thirst became everything. I could see the water bottles on the nightstand, see the condensation on the plastic. 3 feet away. Might as well have been 3 miles. My tongue felt like leather. My lips cracked and bled. Day 3. I stopped counting hours. Time became something fluid, meaningless. I'd drift in and out, dreams mixing with reality. I saw my mother standing at the foot of the bed, shaking her head. "I raised you better than this, Bobby. Why didn't you teach that boy better?" The smell was the worst. I'd soiled myself on day 1 and had been lying in it ever since. The sheets were wet, cold, then warm, then cold again. My skin burned. I couldn't even feel shame anymore, just the desperate, animal need for water. Day 4. I woke up knowing I was dying. My heart was racing. My vision blurred. This was it. This was how it ended. Not with family around my bedside, but alone in my own filth. I heard footsteps outside. Probably just another neighbor going to their car. I didn't even try to make noise anymore. But then a voice. Mr. Mitchell? You okay in there? Jenny Martinez. She knew me. I'd worked at the post office for 30 years before retiring. Mr. Mitchell? Your mail's been piling up. That's not like you. I gathered everything I had, left every ounce of strength, every desperate will to live, and I pushed sound through my throat. A groan. Barely human, but loud enough. Oh my God, I'm calling 911. I heard her phone, heard her voice urgently and afraid, and heard the sirens coming closer. Heard the door crash open. Heard running feet. Heard someone say, Jesus Christ, he's still alive. Still alive. Barely, but alive. The paramedics found me barely conscious, my organs shutting down. I remember fragments, rough hands lifting me. The bright lights. Someone saying, severe dehydration. Possible sepsis. The ambulance ride was a blur of pain and relief. Pain because every movement felt like my body was tearing apart. At the hospital, they worked fast. IVs in both arms, oxygen mask, monitors beeping. A doctor leaned over me, shining a light in my eyes. Mr. Mitchell, you're safe now. You're going to be okay. I wanted to believe her, but okay felt like a word from another language. Another life. The police came later that day. A detective, Sarah Chen, she said her name was. Kind eyes, but sharp. She'd been to my house. She'd seen the phone placed just out of reach, the unopened water bottles, the granola bars I couldn't access, the bed I'd been lying in for 4 days. Mr. Mitchell, she said gently, where is your family? I couldn't speak yet. The stroke and dehydration had damaged my voice further. My left hand still had some movement. She gave me paper and pen. Paris, I wrote. Wife and son. Vacation. I watched her face change. Watched understanding dawn. Then disbelief. Then something harder. Anger. They left you alone, knowing you couldn't move? I nodded. For how long? 4 days. I scratched out. She stood up, pulled out her phone, stepped into the hallway. I could hear her voice. Low and urgent. I need you to check social media for Linda and Brandon Mitchell. Yes. I'll send you the details. No. You're not going to believe this. 20 minutes later, she came back with her phone. Mr. Mitchell, I need to show you something. I'm sorry. She turned the screen toward me. Instagram. Brandon's account. Photos from the last 4 days while I was dying. Tuesday. Brandon and Linda at the airport. Champagne glasses raised. Finally. Paris, here we come. Wednesday. The Eiffel Tower at sunset. Living our best life. Number no regrets. Number Paris vibes. Thursday. A fancy restaurant. When in Paris, number blessed, number vacation mode. Friday, the day Jenny found me, the Louvre. Best trip ever, worth every penny, worth every penny. I'd almost died, and it was worth every penny. They arrested Linda and Brandon at O'Hare Airport on Saturday evening. Said they were laughing, pulling designer shopping bags from the luggage carousel when the officers approached. Brandon's first words. There must be some mistake. Linda's. Is Bob okay? Ended. Not is Bob alive? Just okay. Like I'd had a bad cold while they were gone. The charges came fast. Felony elder abuse. Criminal neglect. Reckless endangerment. The prosecutor was a woman named Maria Santos. And when she came to interview me in the hospital, I saw fury in her eyes, barely contained by professionalism. Mr. Mitchell, they're claiming they thought you'd be fine. That they left you with everything you needed. She showed me photos the police had taken. The phone, positioned perfectly out of reach. The water bottles I couldn't open. The granola bars I couldn't unwrap. Does this look like care to you? I shook my head. Knew what? Knew I couldn't reach, couldn't eat, couldn't move. Each word was agony, but I forced them out. 6 months. They knew everything. Maria's jaw tightened. Tell me about those 6 months. So I did. Told her about the delayed meals, the missed water, the rough bathing that came less and less frequently. Told her about lying in my own waste for hours, sometimes days, about hearing them downstairs, living their lives while I slowly stopped being human to them. They wanted you gone, Maria said quietly. Yes, and when you didn't die fast enough, Paris was more important. The trial took 3 months. I was still in rehabilitation, learning to speak again, learning to use a walker. Every day in physical therapy, I thought about them in their jail cells, wondered if they understood yet what they'd done. The evidence was damning. The staged room, the social media posts, time-stamped while I was dying. Medical experts testified that 4 days without water would have killed me by Saturday. One more day, and Jenny would have found a corpse. Brandon's lawyer tried to paint him as a young man who panicked, who made a terrible mistake. He convinced his mother they'd only be gone a few days. He truly believed his father would be fine, but the prosecutor destroyed that argument with one question. If you truly believed he'd be fine, why did you position the phone just out of his reach? Brandon had no answer. Linda cried through her testimony. I should have stayed. I knew it was wrong, but he kept saying, the money, we'd lose all that money. The jury deliberated for 2 days, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge asked if I wanted to make a statement. I stood up, my walker supporting me, and spoke to them directly for the first time since that Tuesday morning. I loved you, I said. My voice was stronger now, clearer. For 48 years, Linda, I loved you. I worked 2 jobs to give us a good life. Brandon, I was so proud of you. So proud. Linda was crying. Brandon stared at the floor. But when it mattered, when I needed you most, you looked at your watches and chose Paris. You left me to die because $18,000 felt more real than I did. I paused, gathered my strength. I don't want revenge. I just want people to know this is what can happen when caring becomes inconvenient, when a human life becomes a burden, when family becomes a transaction. The judge sentenced Brandon to 8 years. He'd led the decision, convinced his mother, positioned the phone knowing I couldn't reach it. Linda got 5 years. She'd gone along. In the courtroom, as they were led away, Linda looked back at me, mouthed, I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Sorry. Doesn't undo 4 days of dying. Alone. I live alone now. In a small apartment across town. Can't stay in that house, too many ghosts. Jenny, the postal worker who saved my life, visits every week. Brings groceries, checks my medications. Just sits and talks sometimes. She doesn't have to. She just does. You're not alone, Bob, she tells me. I thought I wasn't before, I say. There's a support group for elder abuse survivors. I go every Thursday. Listen to stories like mine, children who stole life savings, spouses who disappeared, families who saw their elderly as inconvenient problems to solve. We're all learning the same hard truth. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. A woman named Margaret, 76, whose daughter drained her bank account, told me something that stuck. Family is who shows up, not who shares your DNA. It's been a year now since that Tuesday morning. 1 year since I learned what my life was worth to the people I'd built it around. The physical therapy continues. I can walk without the walker most days. My speech is almost back to normal. My body is healing. My trust? That might never heal. I get letters from Brandon sometimes. Prison letters, full of apologies and excuses. I don't open them. Linda's letters I read once. She wrote that she doesn't recognize who she became. doesn't understand how she justified it. I don't understand either. And I'm not sure I want to anymore. But I'm here. Still breathing. Still fighting. And I'm telling this story because somewhere right now, someone else is lying in a bed, helpless, wondering if their family will choose them or choose convenience. I want them to know. If you survive, there's life after betrayal. It's not the life you planned. It's not the family you dreamed of. But it's yours. And it's real. And it's worth fighting for. Set up your medical alerts. Make emergency plans. Don't assume love is enough. Make sure systems are in place. And if you're the caregiver feeling burdened, exhausted, resentful, ask for help. Get respite care. Join support groups. Because the moment you start seeing your loved one as an obstacle instead of a person, you're on a path that ends in a courtroom. Or worse, it ends with someone dying alone, betrayed by the people they trusted most. I'm Bob Mitchell. I'm 71 years old. I survived a stroke, 4 days of abandonment, and the shattering of everything I believed about family. And I'm here to tell you, you're not a burden. If my story helps even one person, one senior who sets up safeguards, one family member who chooses differently, then maybe those 4 days in hell meant something after all. Thank you for listening. Please, subscribe and share this story. Family means no one gets left behind? That's what I believed. Now I know better. Family is who stays when staying is hard. Everyone else is just related.